opened a poll. Please go ahead and answer the questions. I'll just give a 30-second intro for Push Engage, then introduce Craig. We will be taking live Q&A in this session. So Push Engage is a leading platform for web push notifications. We serve in 150 countries with over 10,000 websites. Several leading e-commerce brands use us, and we have several push notification campaigns or features that are useful for all those sites. So that's just about us. Happy to answer those separately, but this is all about SEO and how e-commerce sites can use SEO, and that's where we thought to speak on that than Craig, right? And Craig is a very well-known SEO expert based out of Ireland, and we've heard him speak, and he's really great at this. So we thought we'll ask him to join us, and he's right here. So go ahead, Craig. Show is all yours. Go ahead and kind of run this. Thanks.
No worries. Thanks, Ravi. So hi, guys. My name's Craig Campbell. I've spoke in India before, so hopefully some of you will recognise me. And Ravi and Sharan have kindly asked me to come on and do a talk about e-commerce SEO. Many of you guys will be doing e-commerce SEO out there, and it's important that you pick up and do the basics properly. So we will make sure that I go through a lot of the steps in a quick 25-minute presentation, and after that we will do questions and answers. It doesn't have to be related to e-commerce SEO. You can ask anything you want, whether it's Push Engage, SEO in general, or whatever it's going to be. So I'm going to start sharing my screen just now. First and foremost, so you guys should now be able to see my screen. So one of the first things I want to talk about when it comes to e-commerce SEO, regardless of what platform you use, you need to make sure that you get the foundations done properly first. Now, I'm going to use Magento as an example, and it's a story that I had once with a guy who had 20,000 products on a Magento store on the cheapest shared server that you could ever get. Now, there are hosting options here that are specifically optimized for Magento. Now, Magento is memory hungry. It takes up a lot more memory than something like WordPress to be able to function. And if you have 5 or 6 guys on your website and you've not got the right server and you've not got the right setup, your website's literally going to crash. There's guys out there who want to scrimp and scrape on the hosting costs, and that's a big no, if you ask me. Make sure that if you're going to launch any e-commerce website, that site speed is really important. Of course, it helps with SEO and all that kind of stuff. However, if 5 or 6 users are on your website and they're all trying to navigate the website and all trying to place an order, and they can't because your website can't handle that capacity because you pick the cheapest option, then you are going to run into problems. So make sure that you do start out your e-commerce journey using the correct platform for hosting. So that is one thing that I would always recommend when it comes to e-commerce. Second thing, now this is just a random picture. Sexiest woman in Manchester. We've optimized those pictures so that one of my good friends actually just picked a website at random. And I want to talk about some of the most common mistakes that I see with an e-commerce website when I do an audit on one. Now, I'm going to go back to an audit in a minute on this particular website. However, I'm going to briefly go through and just show you some stuff. So if I go to fashion and I go to these dresses here, you'll be able to see that the URL structure is perfect. It's got fashion category, dresses, and then midi dresses. Now, that's great. It's and the title tag is midi dresses for women. That is great as well. Now, if I click on a product, for example, this product, you'll be able to see that the title tag and everything changes, and as does the URL. And again, it's leopard print grey MIDI dress, so great optimization there in terms of on-page. However, when you start clicking on product variables, you'll be able to see that the URL changes here. So it starts to add the size part on. Now, what I very often see with e-commerce websites is that these URLs for product variations are allowed to be crawled and indexed by Google, by the site owners. And allowing those URLs to be crawled and indexed is potentially going to cause you duplicate content problems. It's also going to waste your crawl budget on, there's 7 different sizes here. So it's going to give you 7 different variations of this URL. So it's going to waste 7 times your crawl budget, and you only really need one of these. You only really need the main page to be crawled and indexed by Google. So make sure that your technical SEO is on point, because product variations do impact people's crawl budgets in a massive way. And when it comes to e-commerce, there's always going to be some form of URL strings that are attached when people are navigating your website. And no one's website gets all of their URLs crawled and indexed by Google. Google allocates a kind of crawl budget to a website. And what you don't want to happen is for Google to crawl all of the product variations and index them and start to forget some of your big money URLs. So make sure that you do sort that out, and make sure that you look after your technical SEO, because it's things like this that are wasting so much value when it comes to your website. Now, I've done a quick audit on that particular website at random. Now, every time I look at an e-commerce website, the first thing I do is do a site audit, and you'll be able to identify so many images. Now, I've only crawled 500 of those pages using SEMrush. Now, we're going to just look through some of the problems with this website. It's got 444 redirect chains and loops, which is horrendous. So obviously products do change from time to time. Products go out of stock, products are temporarily unavailable, and so on. However, we have got 301 after 301 after 301 after 301. And all you're going to do there is confuse Google, confuse its bots, and it's not going to want to come back as frequently either. So make sure that you don't have redirect loop after redirect loop. Now, you'll also see there's some hreflang international targeting conflicts. We're not going to worry too much now. 97 pages have a slow load speed score. You're able to see that these pages are taking 3 and 4 seconds to load. There's 97 pages there. And having 97 pages, sorry, I'm clicking all over the place here. 97 pages that load really slowly, it's just not good enough as far as I'm concerned. So you're going to have to, reverse engineer and find out what's causing that slow load speed. Is it high resolution images? Is it crappy server? Is it code? What's the problem? Because people are not going to wait 3 or 4 seconds to get to your product on your website. So be sure of that. Make sure you're optimizing for speed. We've also got 25 pages that could not be crawled. Again, with e-commerce websites, you've got to make sure that all of your pages are crawlable. We have to identify why Google cannot crawl these pages and make sure that they can. There's obviously something somewhere blocking them, and I'm not sure if that's something an SEO's tried to do, block certain URLs from being crawled or whatever, but that again is a problem. So needs to be identified and dealt with. Now, that's errors on the website. There's also a lot of warnings where the images, which I spoke about earlier, are not tagged. they're not doing any image optimization, and that's a missed opportunity. Now, it might seem tedious, but you can optimize your images, and people are always looking for images when they're buying e-commerce products. Make sure that that's sorted out. There's a couple of other minor problems there that I'm not going to talk too much about. And we're going to go to notices. There's pages with no anchor text. There's not a huge amount of problems there with that. They're kind of minor issues. But you can see there, crawlability is only at 77%. So Google being able to crawl that website is not perfect, and that needs to be addressed. We would probably also want to use a good internal linking structure to point to the main category and product pages on your website. That's something that needs to be addressed. Obviously, if you really want to go all out, you could pick holes in their international SEO. There's hreflang conflicts, but I'm not going to confuse everyone by getting into detail on international targeting. So make sure, regardless of what you do, that you do an audit and you clean up all of the garbage that's on there, because even businesses like this, which are running and probably making a load of sales, still have fundamental flaws. And these have to be ironed out by SEOs. And if you don't iron them out, then your competition will, and that's why they're always going to be ahead of the game. Now, some other tips when it comes to e-commerce SEO, and they're less technical. Regardless of how long you've had your e-commerce store, make sure you add a Facebook pixel. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Facebook pixel is, you're collecting data from visitors that have been in your website, which allows you to then retarget those customers at a later date with your products, offers, or whatever you choose to offer. Now, with e-commerce, depending on your products, obviously we looked at a women's clothes shop here. Those products are relatively cheap, and it would be more of an impulse buy. But for example, there are people out there who have e-commerce websites that sell products that are a lot different, and you could be selling kitchens which cost £10,000 to £15,000, on average. Now, that's not an impulse buy. When someone looks at an e-commerce website for a kitchen, for example, they have to then go away, show it to their wife, think about how they're going to pay for it, and make a decision together. So they're not just going to land on your page and then do buy there and then. So sometimes using a Facebook pixel when it's high ticket items to prompt the people to come back is very, very good. And Facebook, isn't the most expensive way to retarget hot leads in your website. Now, you're targeting people who've been in your website. 95% of the traffic that comes on your website disappears after a short period of time, which is basically 95% of them are going elsewhere. Unless you use retargeting to try and draw them back, then you're not doing your job as a marketer effectively. So Facebook Pixel is one way of sorting that out. Other low-cost ways of driving traffic into your e-commerce website are advertised in Quora. I found that placing ads on relevant questions on Quora is a very low-cost way of driving traffic to your website. Whether it's an e-commerce website or not, it really doesn't matter. But people are always asking questions on there. Where's the best place to get this? Or what happens if you do that? And you can place your ad on there and get clicks for pennies, literally pennies. So don't always focus on one way of marketing. Now, SEO is great. And I think when you go to e-commerce websites, you need to make sure that for any product that you do a hell of a lot more than what these guys have got, in terms of content, product descriptions, and so on. I can almost guarantee that product description and that content is duplicate content. It's probably come from a supplier. So unless you go all out and optimize product after product on this e-commerce website, you're going to have to drive traffic through Facebook ads, core ads, email marketing, or whatever it may be. But when it comes to SEO, make sure you try and optimize your top products, your top categories, and make sure that you have a hell of a lot more than 100 words on your product page, because that is probably not going to be enough to rank well for that search term. It really depends on your niche, but optimizing your product pages is vital to go after the kind of long tail keywords and drive traffic in that way. So that's a couple of ways to drive traffic to your website. Now, obviously, we're on Push Engage's webinar today. And what I really like about Push Engage is you're able to push messages out to people. And for e-commerce, it's vital. One of the features that are on here with Push Engage is cart abandon push notifications. So we also get people who are maybe watching the TV at night time, shopping, the add address to the basket, and then maybe go and make the dinner and forget all about it. A gentle push notification using something like Push Engage can attract that person to come back and then finish off the order, because we've all done it. We all forget things and get led off into another situation. And I've done it personally and forgot to order stuff. This is a perfect opportunity for e-commerce using something like Push Engage to get people back to abandoned carts. Now, there's various other things you can do with Push Engage as well, such as I'll just go scrolling down. Price drops, inventory alerts. So if an e-commerce website doesn't have a particular product, someone can actually, put in there that they want to be alerted when this product comes back into stock. So you can do stuff like that and push messages to people who want a product very, very specifically. So there's lots of different options for Push Engage, but for e-commerce, I think one of the the most famous things would be the cart abandonment, which is just another way of just dragging in and increasing your conversions, click-through rate, and all that kind of stuff. And that is a major thing with e-commerce. It's users, the user behavior is out with your control, and a lot of people feel that using things like this could potentially be intrusive. And I used to think like that as well, but I think you've got to use technology to gently, if everything's done tastefully and very targeted, then you're not going to have a major problem with reminding someone that they placed something into a basket and didn't order it. They're not going to complain. They're not going to come at you saying, hey, why are you sending me this message? It's just a gentle, soft notification. And I think that's the way you've got to play this, because users are crazy. Everyone in the world's crazy. They've got kids. They've got all sorts of things going on in their life. And something as simple as this can certainly help you get better conversions and fill up some of those abandoned carts. So that is some tips for e-commerce websites. I don't have an e-commerce website specifically to go through. I just picked this one at random, and it is on Magento. It is slow. It is not that well optimized, and there's a lot of improvements that can be done. But I just want to show one last thing, and then what we'll do is take questions and answers after this. So although this website, as I say, has a lot of fundamental issues, we are going to see that they still do get a hell of a lot of traffic. So I don't want to be seen there to be sitting slagging off a website that has been around since 2012 and has grown and grown and grown in that period of time. But they do have a lot of issues. And one of the main things that drives traffic to their website is their brand name. They do not rank that well organically. So don't be fooled. Don't be fooled if you look at this and go, oh, they get a lot of traffic, so what Craig says must be garbage. There's always room for improvement, always room to optimize more. And as I say, they do not have that many. They've got less than 5,000 keywords in page one out of the 76,000 keywords that they rank for. So there's a lot of room for improvement, a lot more keywords they can go after and rank better for. As I say, their brand is what is carrying them as they are just now. But focus on the technical side, focus on a lot of other stuff, and they could probably be doing 5 to 10 times better than what they currently are. So it's all about minor tweaks, minor adjustments to improve. Even something like using Push Engage to get 5% more sales or whatever, would be significant for a company of that size. So implementing all of these small tactics is really going to make a big difference to an e-commerce website of that size. So yeah, just bear that in mind when you're having a look at e-commerce stores, and make sure that you implement all of that kind of technical stuff. So what we'll do is we will go through the questions and answers and all of that kind of stuff. So I will start going through these just now. I will go through as many as I possibly can. Sean Collins, what's the best way to handle pages that need to be de-indexed? Pages that have been created due to product features and variations, and you're talking thousands. So Sean, what I've always found, and it's a little bit of an unorthodox way of doing this, but when something gets indexed by Google, sometimes it's quite hard to de-index it. So what I tend to do with pages like that I want to be de-indexed is put a 410 a 410 on it, because if you do a 301 redirect to another page, the page is still, it ends up getting jammed in the index and you're still draining power. So a 410 status code basically tells Google that the page is gone, and they will drop out of the index very, very quickly if you put a 410 on those pages. So you can obviously get a developer to do it on a massive scale. It depends on what platform and stuff you're on. If it's WordPress, there's a plugin that you can use to put a 410 on. But again, you would need to double check, with what platform you've got. But a 410 will certainly get rid of those out of the index for you. If not, and you do a 301 to another page, what you'll find is very often that those URLs just stick there and there's nothing you can do. And as I say, it's a pain in the backside. So 410 is the best trick I can give you. Christopher, what is your experience with link building specific product keywords against big players like Amazon? Now, big players like Amazon are not that hard to beat, to be honest. Amazon's a very powerful website and obviously ranks very, very well for a lot of keywords. But if you look at anything that's, get any kind of competition, it's not Amazon you're up against. It's normally always someone else. Amazon are not optimizing for every single search term that's out there. They do rank very well for a lot because of the sheer power of their website. But, for example, I do Amazon affiliate, and Amazon sell the same products that I sell on their service, and it's quite easy to outrank them. I would never think that there's anyone that can beat you because they're a big player as such, because they're not fully optimizing for very specific search terms. So don't be put off, just go for it, get some guest posts or whatever way you do link building and go for it. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that you're able to get above some of these so-called big players. Obviously, if I'm going after something like Push Engage, if I wanted to rank for it, the chances of that are null because of their brand and everything else. But, if it's just a random product keyword, then easily, you should be able to go ahead of them because they're not fully optimizing for that. So hopefully that answers that question. Give me a second. Just delete that question. Kevin Chong, I thought Google announced that they will punish sites that use push notifications. I'm not sure.
So let me take that, Craig. So the thing is, the Chrome 80 announcement was around spammy sites who were gathering push subscription too quickly and for advertising or some other purposes. So that's kind of the the update there. So if for a genuine site, there isn't any penalty. It was mainly for those spammy sites.
Cool. Thank you very much for that, Ravi. Also, what I would say on that note is, don't believe everything that Google say regardless. Google tell you not to build links, even though the number one ranking factor is link building. Google will release stuff and it's their job to tell you things to deter people from trying to manipulate the system. So don't be that guy that just says Google said, because you have to sometimes read in between the lines and do some research. And they might have said something, but as Ravi said, it was based, that particular one was based around that particular update or whatever. But anyway, we'll move on from that question. For managing giant sites like eBay or Amazon, what are the SEO KPIs to set? Because the listing pages that are ranking are also removed by users every day when products are sold. I mean, obviously, if you've got an eBay store and your product's sold and your URL goes down and stuff like that, that's bad SEO. You wouldn't want to do that. You want to keep your URLs and replace that product inventory on a big website. But big websites like eBay and Amazon can do what they want. The sheer power and the brand and everything else, it really doesn't matter that much to them. But from an SEO point of view, removing pages that rank well, that just simply get removed because a product sold is insanity, and it's just going to be a big mess. But we're not playing the same rules, with a general website. You're not playing by the same rules that some of these big guys play with. They do probably get a lot of preference because of the sheer size and everything that they have. So yeah, we're not playing. It's not a level playing field when it comes to that. Let's go on to some other questions.
Craig, let me pitch in. So there are some couple of questions which came in earlier. Okay, I can put
I've scrolled down to the bottom. I'm going to the bottom up, so the newer ones can wait till the end.
Cool. Sure.
Cool. So Rasika Gayal, you will get this presentation afterwards. There will always be a live. There will always be a recording, I'm sure. Mukesh Jua, how to do e-commerce SEO. I would suggest that you Google that, to get a fuller answer. For me to explain how to do e-commerce SEO would take a day, 2 days, 3 days. So you're going to have to do a bit more research. It's not something we can answer on here, unfortunately. I have given you some tips there, some of the most common mistakes. Shahid Parvej, which backlinks method A mid-level SEO learning practice in this first site should do after the 2020 BERT update? So Shahid, backlinks are backlinks. How you go about getting them is entirely up to you. Now, you can do outreach. You can buy guest posts, which some people won't want to do. You can do it. There's a whole range of different strategies to build backlinks, and it really comes down to the level of competition. You're saying they're mid-level SEO. Now, if I want to build backlinks to a local roofing company, then I don't need to build as many as I would, trying to rank for something like midi dresses or something. So what backlinks you get and what strategy you use is entirely up to you. But the most common ones are guest blog posts, doing outreach, and potentially, hustling, offering content to people or whatever it may be in exchange for links on their website. Regardless of how you approach this, a link is a link. Now, I want a link so I'm in the SEO industry. I need links from high profile. The best links for me would be a high profile links from the guys at Push Engage or various other, SEO related tool providers and software providers, because these are the premium creme de la creme links. Now, if I need to appear in a webinar to get a link from those guys, that's one way of doing it, and I can offer value to their users. So there's so many ways that you can get links, and it doesn't always have to be this black hat, buying them or whatever it's going to be. So there's so many ways to do it. If you've got something of value, whether it's your knowledge, experience, or something else, you can build links that way. And I've got a lot of links from appearing on webinars, question and answers, and various other bits and bobs. But I could also reach out to a lot of these people and say to them, listen, I want to talk about e-commerce SEO and I want to publish it on Push Engage. I'm pretty sure the guys are not going to knock that back, and they're quite happy to give me a link for that. So you've just got to use your own skills to hustle that link. And thereafter that, you're going to have to look at guest blogs and, reaching out to people and all of that kind of stuff to be able to start to basically replicate what your competition are doing. Find out what links they've got and go after the same thing. Now, sometimes you may have to pay cash to get a link. That is just the nature of the beast. There's no point in anyone saying that, cash shouldn't exchange hands and you can't buy a link. People might take an admin fee for placing your blog post or whatever you want to call it. So be prepared for that, but always try and do things the most cost-effective and quickest way you possibly can as well. And just go for that. That would be the best way to do it. Mukesh, can you please tell me why my e-commerce website desktop speed is good, but mobile speed is not? Two different indexes. And if you look at my own personal website, which is on the screen, I believe, you'll be able to see that my website loads really fast on a desktop and isn't quite as fast on a mobile. And that's something you need to work on. It's quite a common thing to happen, but unless your website is super optimized for mobile, then you are going to have that problem. And you need to weigh up whether more of your users use a mobile than they do a desktop, because in my experience, more than 60% of people on most websites are using the mobile version. So you might want to have a look at that. So hopefully that answers that question. Kevin Chong, what's the ideal URL structure for e-commerce websites with lots of categories? Sites like Amazon or eBay have more than 3 folders. It really, it really comes down to the size of your website, Kevin. Sites like Amazon and eBay have to have 3 folders, purely because of the sheer size and volume and being able to, have that good silo structure on there, whether it's the used cars, sales, and so on, and in specific areas or whatever. What you've got is your 2 examples, abc.com, cars, for sale, used, Honda, Dublin, or, either or of those is good. There's no one that's better than the other. Basically, you just have to keep it consistent throughout the rest of your website. However, if you've got a lot smaller web, I'm assuming you're working with a real big website, and that's where the silo structure really comes into play. You have to make sure it's simple and easy for Google to be able to, identify everything. And you need to I'm not going to sit here and say you have to have 3 folders or anything like that. 2 folders may be enough if you've only got a couple of thousand products, but you have to use as many folders as you need to be able to have a good, strong silo structure. And I would suggest that you probably Google more on silo structures for big websites. There's lots of tutorials out there that give you the best examples of that stuff. So have a look at that, because I'm assuming you do work with a big website based on your other questions, and you may want to dig a bit deeper into that. Just delete that one. Right. Kasaba, can you recommend an e-commerce site you consider to be perfectly SEO optimized and that we can follow and check as a good example? E-commerce website that's well optimized. I mean, see if I'm being honest with you, I do regularly on SEMrush webinars. We do site audits on some of the biggest and best websites, and I'm not sure there is a perfect e-commerce website out there that I can give you as a good example, purely because so many websites, it's very easy as an SEO to pick faults and stuff. No website's perfect out there. Even my own website, do I do as much as I probably should on it? Probably not. So the e-commerce in general, there is probably no one that has a perfect example. I mean, doing a simple Google search for any product, whether it's Nike trainers or something like that, is always going to be the best way for you to find a well-optimized website that's probably not a big brand like JD Sports or similar. So I would probably suggest that you look that way and look at a few examples. But I've literally audited hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of e-commerce websites and could pick holes in every single one of them. So there is no such thing as a perfect e-com website. There's always going to be... The problem comes because a lot of e-commerce platforms are not perfect from an SEO point of view either. So sometimes you just have to work around certain things. So that's the reason why there's always going to be fundamental issues underlying in a lot of cases. But most people rely on their brands and sheer power and volume to overcome those problems. Puneet, Craig, would be glad if you share hacks for Shopify e-commerce as well, given the limitations with hosting. Now, Puneet, Shopify, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm an expert in Shopify. I absolutely hate Shopify from an SEO point of view. It's a great platform. So what I tend to do with Shopify websites is put a front-end WordPress website on it, and I use the Shopify side of things for the e-commerce and the transaction side of it, because there is no hacks for Shopify for what you're asking. You don't have access to the server. You do not have the ability to manipulate all of that kind of, technical stuff or, whatever it might be, because it's a off-the-shelf platform. So you just don't have the ability to implement any hacks. So what I do because I love Shopify's upsell and they've got a very clean, very quick setup, when it comes to e-commerce functionality as such. But what I do is make the front end of the website WordPress, all the landing pages, all the blog posts and everything else, all drive traffic into the e-commerce side of the store. So that's the way I use Shopify. To be honest, I would not roll out a Shopify website. In my opinion, I would use Magento for something that was big, or WooCommerce for something small, or do what I've done as well, where I've got some websites where the front end's WordPress, the back end's Shopify. That's the workarounds, unfortunately. Christopher, good to see you from SEO Autopilot. I was chatting to your colleague Elias last night, having a beer. Good to see you here. Kevin Chong, is it okay if the URL contains a broken path? You don't want to have a broken path on your URL. That's not ideal at all. It's madness to I've never had a question like that before, but you don't want a broken path. You want to make sure everything is just standard. It is following the path that it should be, and it's simple, and it takes a customer from A to B, and that's it. I wouldn't be messing about with broken paths and suggesting that that's the right thing to do. Zachary, for the parameterized URLs, would you prefer blocking them via robots text or placing a canonical tag on those parameterized URLs? Personally, it depends on when you get a hold of that website. From the outset, if I was involved in the build of that website, I would use the robots TXT file. If I'm inheriting a website that it's just out there and all that kind of stuff, then a canonical tag on those parameter. I can't even say the word, but you know what I mean, those URLs. So yeah, so it just depends on when you inherit the website, which the best option would be. But blocking them via the robots text from the get-go, if you have that, if you're in that fortunate position to be able to do that, would be the best way of doing that. In my sorry, I just so Sagar Prajapati. Long URLs are helpful in e-commerce SEO. What's the right solution? I mean, long URLs, I've never heard anyone saying long URLs are useful for e-commerce SEO. You want to have the URL as long as it needs to be. You know, there's if you know the product, if it ends up being longish, then fine. But you know, I would always try and keep them as condensed as I possibly could. I've never done any single variable testing to be able to tell you whether there's a benefit to having a longer URL or something slightly shorter. But I think just from a common sense point of view, I'd try and keep them as condensed as you possibly can. That would be the answer for that one. Delete that question. Justine, how would you ideally balance crawl budget versus having relevant pages for long tail that could be specifically optimized? So it's something you have to play with, Justin. Now, in most cases, most of your URLs, including the stuff that you target long tail stuff with, will probably get crawled and indexed eventually if the content's unique and you've got internal links pointing to that stuff. If they're not, then you're going to have to play about with what's blocked and what's not, and you know, try and force that issue, or you know, send your URLs to an indexing using an indexer. But as I say, I would use internal links and all that kind of stuff as well to make sure that I did ensure that those long tail keywords that do drive in a fair amount of traffic also rank well as well. But again, it really comes down to the size of your website. You know, if you start getting into websites that have got hundreds of thousands of products, you know, I would imagine some of the long tail stuff would end up drifting off. But you know, using good internal linking structure, indexing tools, and stuff like that is also going to help those long tail keywords come back. And you can also you know, start to put those long tail, whether it's blog posts or whatever you're referring to, out in social media a bit more frequently to make sure that they still do get crawled and indexed. Share them in social and stuff like that as well, just to make sure that they do keep in the index and you retain those long tail rankings. So you might want to use something like that, or some other form of strategy to make sure that they do remain in the index. But there's loads of wee ways and hacks that you can do that, as I say, by sharing stuff on social media if you've got a whole bunch of stuff there. So that is that one. Sorry. So Christopher, so you suggest guest post and boost those posts with a software like yours? Yes. So if you're buying the guest post, what I do in a lot of cases is, so guest posts are sold based on the metrics of the website. So you've got DR30, DR45, and DR60. Now, it's cheaper to get a DR30, and it's sometimes a good option to get a DR30 that's on a growing website. You know, that might be a website that a guy's growing, doing some good SEO on and stuff like that. So it may turn into a DR45. But what I do when I do get a low DR link is use a tool like SEO Autopilot to automate the link building process to the guest blog post. So yeah, that SEO Autopilot, as I've said in numerous other talks, is something I would use to power guest posts, interviews, and various other things. And it's also really effective for YouTube SEO as well. So SEO Autopilot is a great tool for powering up your guest posts, and it does a hell of a lot more than that as well. And also, when I was talking about indexing, the chaps at SEO Autopilot also have a tool called Omega Indexer, which you can use to force URLs to get indexed. And if the person that I was talking to a minute ago about the kind of long tail keywords maybe dropping off, then you can use Amiga Indexer to run that stuff through as well. It's very, very cheap and cost effective. So check those out. Atta Patel, how e-commerce product page ranks against content sites. This depends on the website in question. A product page, it doesn't tend to always be that well optimized. So content websites, in my opinion, will probably rank better. However, it really comes down to the optimization and how well optimized the product page is on that website and what that website is, because even a half optimized product page on a very powerful website is still going to be quite powerful and could outrank a content site. So really, it's a hard one to, I can't just say content websites are going to rank better than e-commerce product pages. In most cases they will, but the reason for that is most product pages are not that well optimized, in my opinion. So a content website would normally be able to beat it, which is why so many Amazon affiliate websites do so well. So it's not just a general consensus from me that content websites rank really well. Millions and millions and millions of people have content websites and make millions and billions of pounds probably from Amazon. So hopefully that answers your question. Irfan, which URLs are best for the Magento platform? It really comes down to how deep you want that structure to go. It could normally be the middle one that you suggest, category and then product, for something that maybe is a couple of thousand products. But if you start to go any bigger, then you're going to have to go for option 3, which is obviously category, relevant category, and then product, if it's a big website. Obviously, having a flat URL like abc.com/product, when you start to get thousands of products on there and you've got a flat URL like that, then you're going to run into problems. It can work for content websites like Amazon, for several hundred pages. That can work very well. But the reason that you would be on Magento is probably because you have several thousand products. So it would always be number 2 for a middle of the road website and number 3 if you sold a lot more products. So hopefully that is the best answer I can give you. Harry Patel, is it good to rank a category page or a product page? Whatever drives the most traffic. Product pages are always going to be going after the long tail keywords. Category pages like dresses, more people are looking for dresses than a specific dress. So, it really depends on the product. You have to look at the search volume and do your keyword research to answer that question. I know lots of people who rank just for products alone. They don't bother with their category pages and they make a lot of money. But for the best form of optimization, you would want to rank for your products and your category pages. You're going to get a lot more traffic that way. But what you need to bear in mind is if you're going to rank a category page like dresses, you may lose a lot of customers because your dresses don't really suit that particular audience. So it might be better for you to rank very specific for a specific type of dress, whether that's, a silk dress or a black dress or a, whatever. I don't know much about dresses, but you can get the point that more specific stuff like a product page is probably going to convert better than a specific category page. But you need to weigh that up yourself. There is no best practice for it, but you have to think logically. Is it the category page or is it the product page? Most people will go for product and then on to category pages. Go after the long tails first, get some money in and grow on to the category pages is normally what the strategy would be. So the next one, Yagmur, what is the biggest SEO mistake you've faced on a specific product page? The biggest, I mean, it's hard to say. We get different problems with e-commerce websites. One of the biggest things that I see is a lot of people's product inventory is uploaded by a CSV file. And what it does is overwrites your SEO work. So if I go in and optimize product pages, what used to happen was it used to get overwritten by the new product inventory. So there's lots of different mistakes. So people use the same content that their supplier has given them. So duplicate content is probably the biggest and most common mistake I see on product pages. But you also see that many product pages are just not long enough in content. They don't have any internal links. They don't have any optimization. So there's so many issues with product pages that could be done a lot better. So Harsh, a client has decided to do e-commerce SEO for business to business, whose product ranges from £5,000 to £10,000. Is it feasible to do? Yes. I mean, there's lots of businesses out there whose product prices range from, £100,000 to £200,000. There's a market for everything out there. Look at cars, for example. There's supercars, Ferraris, and everything else. They cost hundreds of thousands of pounds, but people buy them, and that's all they sell. So as long as there's a demand for that product, then of course it's feasible to do it. If there's a market for it and there's search volume for it, then 100%, make as much money as you can. I would always say to anyone, sell a high ticket item rather than small ticket items, because you're going to need sheer volume at the smaller end of the scale, and you get so much more stress selling more products. If we could all sell £5,000 to £10,000 products all day, every day, the world would be a much better place. So yeah, perfectly feasible to do. Kevin Chong, for a site with loads of URL combinations of cars and brands and cities, do you advise on having unique content? However, with that, Kevin, you've got to have unique content in all of the pages in a lot of cases. But you are probably going to get duplicate content somewhere along the way. It really depends on the level of competition. Now, I've seen websites out there who do this kind of thing really badly, but they still rank because the level of competition, there's just not enough pages out there competing for certain areas for those particular used cars. So you may get away with it, but I think it's something you have to put out there and then refine as you go, because there's arguments out there, but people say duplicate content's a big no-no. But if you've got lots of URLs and lots of cars and lots of cities, there is going to be some overlap in terms of content. And I think Google's probably clever enough to be able to say, right, that's his Bali page, that's his Dublin page, or whatever it's going to be. I would like to think Google would have that common sense. And I have seen guys who have had that type of website who have ranked with duplicate content. So not fully duplicate content, there's certain different things that they do on a geographic specific page to make sure that it is unique to some degree. So hopefully that answers that question. Irfan, my website has more than 3,404 pages. Does giving Meta Robots no index, no follow to 40 pages give some positive results? No. So what happens, Irfan, is if you have a URL that's indexed and then that page is taken down, it will give the search engines a 404 page. Now, you can't tell Google to no index, no follow that 404 page because it's broke. That's it. That's something they determine. You want to 301 redirect those pages to the next relevant page. There's no point in saying no follow, no index. You would want to 410 a URL that you want out of the index, or if you want to pass power from an existing page that's no longer valid, then you 301 redirect that to the next relevant page. Adding no index, no follow to a 404 page is not going to do anything for you. That's just insanity, if you ask me. My e-commerce, so this is Kartik. My e-commerce portal is that. ABC123 is one of my primary keywords of the website. Now, ABC TLDs are available to buy. Should I redirect it to my site, product page, or build a different informative blog website and get backlinks to the main website? So buying a keyword-rich domain name and just simply redirecting it into your website is going to pass absolutely no value whatsoever, because if you're buying a new domain name that has no metrics, that's got nothing, then it's passing no value to your website. Now, you can have multiple websites, an informative blog or whatever to drive traffic into your website. That's perfectly logical to do. But what most people would do, just so that you've got this clear in your head, is they would buy an expired domain name that's maybe 5 years old that has 1,000 backlinks and potentially redirect that into a specific product page or whatever it's going to be, or they may repurpose that as an informative blog website. The benefits of doing that is you're taking advantage of the backlink profile that expired domain name has, because it's got 1,000 backlinks. That may cost you £10,000 worth of link building effort to get that domain name. And the great thing about that is if you can get an expired domain name with 1,000 backlinks, then you've got a domain name that's got £10,000 worth of backlinks to give you a head start. So you've got to use that strategy properly. Do not just buy a domain name and redirect it into your website. It will pass absolutely no value whatsoever. What I would say to you, Kartik, is concentrate on doing SEO rather than trying to play tricks as such. If a great domain does come up, an expired one, then you can look at either repurposing that for an information website or doing a 301 redirect. But don't think that you can just buy domain names and 301 them in. That's the wrong mindset to have for that. Sharik Ramirez, I'm not able to find volume keyword for my e-com products using SEMrush. Any idea to dig in to the volume? Now, if you can't find the keyword on SEMrush, doesn't mean it's a useless keyword. I will say that. If the product is very, very specific or new, there may just not be enough data for SEMrush to populate that with any kind of keyword volume. However, if there is no volume for something and it's a product that's old or not that well used, then you're probably digging into the wrong niche. So bear those two things in mind. If there's no search volume out there, there's no point in trying to sell those products online because no one's interested in them. So you have to go and do some manual research and see if other people are trying to rank for your e-com products. If there is, then you've got a chance of making money. But as I say, SEMrush data is not wholly accurate. Sometimes it can be that your product's just not searched for enough for them to be able to show up. But that would be few and far between, to be honest with you. If you're really struggling, do some manual research and see if there are products out there on websites that are going to be there for your competition. Just a quick question, Ravi. Do you want me to keep answering these, or do we need to cut off on the hour?
I think we can go for a few more minutes. I mean, I think it'll continue. So I think as long as it's engaging and helpful, let's continue.
Cool, no problem at all. So I'll keep going through these questions. Monduril, which is the best way to generate traffic on an Amazon affiliate website? Content and links. Go after the long tail keywords and you get traffic. There's lots of Amazon affiliate tutorials out there though. Abhishek Jain, could you please share hack for WordPress websites? I don't hack websites, and even if I did, I wouldn't publicly be able to tell you how to do that. I think you have to look for other ways to to get access to websites, asks people for a guest blog post or whatever you're trying to do there. Hacking and stuff like that, try and stay clear of it. It's just not the right thing to be doing. Kevin Chong, thanks for asking the questions. We deal with web developers challenging. The problem you've got, Kevin, is we as SEO people hate web developers. Web developers have always got something to say on a subject that they know very little about. So argue your point, be confident, tell them to shut up and get on with the job, because we can't have ongoing backwards and forwards with developers. They don't know what they're doing in most cases. So you want to make sure that you lay down the law and tell them what you need to be done. I think that's quite common across the world. We're all fighting with developers who think they know better. So yeah, get them told. Jake, my dad and I have a small e-commerce fishing and outdoors business. Our main competitors in the search results are Amazon, eBay, and Home Depot. You're just going to have to go after long tail keywords. You're going to have Amazon and Home Depot and stuff like that selling the same type of equipment, outdoor stuff and everything else. If time doesn't allow you to be able to compete against them for the big search terms, there's so many long tail keywords you can go for to drive traffic initially, and hopefully from there you continue to evolve. Sam Ola, what's the most significant in e-commerce SEO, on page or link building? Sam, if you ask that question anywhere else, people are going to basically give you two different answers. Now, if I build links to a website that has crap on page, it's not going to get the right results. And if I do on page and don't do the link building, I'm also not going to get the right results. So they're both equally as important. You've got to do both properly if you want to challenge at the top end of Google and make some real money. So I wouldn't be focusing on one or the other. Get both of them done properly, and that will help you long term. Kevin Chong, for a brand new e-commerce site selling less than 50 products, is SEO the right strategy considering the competition of the big players? So the focus should be on other marketing channels like Facebook. Kevin, the answer is it depends. I mean, for a new e-commerce website trying to sell something, you can use Facebook, paid ads, and everything else. I think SEO is a longer term strategy, so I wouldn't set out doing SEO right from the get-go. Well, I would, because I'm an SEO guy. But I think, if I was advising a business, I would be doing something else to try and drive traffic in initially to get sales, improve click-through rate, get the brand out there and all that stuff. So using paid channels, influencer marketing, YouTube, whatever, get traffic to your website any way you can. Masood, how would you mind to please talk about trending things in 2019? We're 2020 now, buddy, but social media product availability. I mean, e-commerce is e-commerce. It's obviously a little bit more difficult than general SEO. But you still need content, you still need links, you still need good technical SEO, and you need everything else that works in the world of SEO to come into play on an e-commerce website where possible. So there's no, social media stuff or whatever that's going to help. Of course, social media will help drive traffic, click-through rate, and stuff like that. But trending things, just content and links, and do good technical SEO and have the right structure. So many people are looking for a magic bullet that doesn't exist. There is no super new technique that's going to work for you. So many people are not even doing the basics properly. They don't want to write product descriptions. So what I would say to anyone is forget about what's trending and what's new. Get the basics done first, and you will probably move on a great deal. So hopefully that helps you with that one. Ewan Blair, really enjoyed this. Any tips to get links to category product pages? My link building efforts to... So, Ewan, building links to your homepage using branded anchor text is obviously one way of building links, I would always say to anyone, is make sure that you do go to product specific category pages and mix it all up. And you can go after some, you don't always have to use branded links. You know, you can use keyword, just mix everything up as much as you possibly can. You know, when I build links to my website, I'll point some links to my training courses, I'll point some links to my news feed, you know, whatever's articles on there that's relevant. So yeah, just make sure that you get links all over that website and power up the whole website rather than just going after the homepage, because you want to make sure that you know, build a lot of power to a lot of those internal pages as well. Cash took a complete image-based website or a website developed using, not sure of the question there, but image-based websites are going to struggle to rank. Kaushik, you need content to rank well in Google. So make sure that you do use header tags and content and everything else. Image-based websites are, Google can't see an image, just so you know. So having an image-based website is just, you're really going to struggle. Chad Ellis, Craig, if you have the category defining 20-year-old domain name, i.e. detox tea, and it has 82,000 exact match searches a month. Yeah, I mean, does it help you having that? Of course it does. It could obviously help build trust. It's a, you know, detox tea is a brandable domain name, and does having that domain name help with SEO as well? Potentially exact match domain names do also give you a little bit more help as well. I'm not saying they're the be all and end all the way they used to be, where you bought an exact match domain name and popped up a page and you guaranteed yourself page one, position one. But I still think, you know, it is still going to be given some kind of favour. And I think, you know, in terms of, you know, customers and click-through rate and encouraging clicks, that domain name is going to, you know, get some kind of advantage. So, yeah, and obviously indirectly click-through rate and sucking people in because you've got a brandable domain name does indirectly help your SEO anyway, because click-through rate and everything are ranking factors. Kaushik, thanks for your previous answer. Does having product anchors in the footer help SEO? No. Good internal linking, man. Footer and all that kind of stuff is very old hat. You know, you've got to have a good navigation at the top of your website and have good internal linking, and that will help your overall SEO. Don't worry too much about doing anything with the footer stuff. Ian Pritchard, good to see you here, Ian. What's my process for internal linking within a Shopify store? So you're going to have to manually do it. I don't do it within a Shopify store personally, but you're obviously going to have to just get a spreadsheet, figure out what your best pages are, and then, you know, just go in and manually do it, and you know, figure out, you know, what are your top 10 categories, your top 10 products, or top 20, or whatever you want, whatever way you want to do it, and just keep it all in a spreadsheet. I mean, when I do it for websites, I normally do it on WordPress, and I will use a plugin called Link Whisper, because I just can't be bothered doing that spreadsheet thing. But Ian, if you look at Andy Drinkwater, iqseo.org, I think his domain name is, or just put in Andy Drinkwater internal linking guide. He's got a solid big guide for internal linking in general, and that will give you an in-depth overview of the best internal linking processes, you know, if you're going to do it all manually. And I think with Shopify, I'm not familiar enough with Shopify to know if there's any kind of quicker way of doing it, or any kind of plugin or whatever. So sadly, I'm not able to advise on that, but have a look at Andy's and he'll tell you. And I'll answer one more question by Padita. How to generate sitemap and e-commerce website if you're going to have to get a sitemap generator, or it depends on the e-commerce website. They might have one built in, but there's lots of external sitemap generators where you can pay to have a sitemap generated and use that if you've got more than 1,000 URLs. I'll answer this one last one. Masood, my site is 50 unavailable products for purchase now. What should I do with the pages? 301 redirects. The products will be available in about 2 months. I mean, personally, I wouldn't take the pages down at all. I would put something up on those pages saying that the product will be back in 2 months. If you can 301 redirect it to a main page and it'll help user experience. Do not delete and set a 404 because the page will drop out the index and is gone, it's dead, and you mess up the SEO for that. So if possible, I would probably just say, we don't have this product, but maybe have a look at this and have a button going to the next available section or whatever. Just try and do something like that so that you can retain the ranking and not irritate the customer by showing a 404 or something. That would be the best way. It's not ideal, but as an SEO, I don't want you to lose your rankings by doing anything crazy like that, because 2 months can be over in a jiffy. So there you go. But that is all of the questions answered. Hopefully, I offered some value there.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And I was going to add, for the folks who ask about the inventory, you can do the inventory alert notification. So when it's available, they can get a notification. That's the thought I had. But again, Craig, this was amazing stuff. You could see from the level of engagement. Again, it's going to be available. You will get an email where you can see the recording, and we're going to also be writing a summary blog post. So thanks, everyone. Sharon, you have anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, that was an amazing session, Craig. You answered more than 30 questions in a go. We admire your patience and all. Also, I would recommend everyone to go to our blog and have a look over there. We have a lot of case studies around the e-commerce, like how other e-commerce companies are getting benefited from push notifications and all. So that's it from my end. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all who joined the webinar.
Yeah, thanks again. Thanks again, Craig. It was wonderful having you.
Pleasure, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.